Attention to boxing. The massive fight, the rematch coming up on the 5th of September 2018. Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Gennady GGG Golovkin. It's the rematch from last year for the IBO World Middleweight title, the WBA Super World Middleweight title, WBC World Middleweight title. Awful lot on the line, respect on the line, bragging rights on the line. There's been a lot of drama between these two. Bearing in mind what happened with Canelo and the drugs testing, the drugs incident. Canelo claiming that he's eaten some Mexican beef, which has tainted his drug testing. We don't know really what the truth is on this. All we can say is it stopped the rematch taking place initially. And Golovkin has made it clear what he feels about it, and so has his trainer Abel Sanchez, who's had a lot of derogatory remarks for Saul Canelo Alvarez and for Oscar De La Hoya at Golden Boy Promotions. He's had his say. He thinks that, well, it's possible that Canelo has been intentionally doping, but we don't know. These are allegations. Canelo's saying that he's eaten some tainted Mexican beef. Apparently this is a common occurrence. I think there's a substance called clenbuterol in Mexican beef, and it can taint drugs tests and make the fighter look guilty. That's what Canelo said. But moving on from that, the fight's been scheduled, and it's going to go ahead, and it's going to be a massive one. They've had some open training. We've seen Canelo looking very sharp, very quick, even looking a little bit lighter than he did in the first fight. We've had Golovkin looking devastating on the pads. I saw the way he was striking the pads with Abel Sanchez, and that's not a surprise because he always has been a big hitter. He's always been heavy-handed. I mean, he's beaten so many people. Danny Jacobs, that brutal KO over Kell Brook coming up 2 weight classes. Dominic Wade, David Lemieux, Willie Monroe Jr., Martin Murray. It's just amazing the KO record that Golovkin has. We know the power he has. 34 KOs in his 38 victories, and obviously there's that draw in his record now. It was a draw in the first night fight with Canelo. And now we're just trying to work out which way this fight will go this time. I think Canelo, he's got an awful lot to prove. The first fight, a lot of people said that Golovkin came out on top. When I first fought the fight, I thought that Golovkin was the aggressor. I think Golovkin was coming forward, but that's his style anyway. He's always stalking his opponent, coming forward, making the fight happen, looking for big shots. Whereas Canelo looked a bit more standoffish. But when you actually look back at the fight, Canelo put in a great campaign. He landed clean on Golovkin at one point. GGG just took the punch. Well, I wouldn't say just took the punch. It clearly had an effect, but he wasn't wobbling around. He wasn't carrying on as if he was in any great trouble, and just walked through it and carried on, to Canelo's surprise. But when you look at the actual technique, the range of shots, the angles of shots from Canelo, some people say the cleaner work was from Canelo. So the draw was there. There's always the skeptical side of you which says, you know, it's a business boxing and they just wanted a rematch. You know, it was a big money in the first fight. It's a pay-per-view event, one of the biggest fights of all time. And they just thought, well, let's have a rematch. You know, you could always come at it from that point, but you can also look at it from the point of view that it was close, it was tight, and maybe it was legitimately a draw. It was certainly close. To call it either way, it would have been a very minor victory. So it's all to play for. And I think the egos coming onto it make a big difference in boxing. You know, it can make you fight more emotionally if you want to make a point. It can make you put in a bit too, you can try too hard. You know, you don't relax and let your shots go. Use your skills and your experience you've amassed over the years. But I think these are two professionals, and I don't think that will happen. Certainly Canelo, massive career he's had. Such a young man, and still so many fights he's had. I mean, it's just amazing, including the fight against Mayweather. It's like 5 years ago. That's how experienced he is. He's still a young man. At 28 years of age, he's had 49 fights, 34 KO wins, 1 loss to Mayweather Jr. and 2 draws. That's how Canelo's record reads. And someone with that experience, even though there's a lot of emotions at play, even though he will have a point to prove, I think Canelo will be a professional, a consummate professional. He's always had a pretty good temperament. He's always been heavy-handed, and I think he has a good chance in this fight. Obviously, Golovkin has a good chance in this fight. Now, we don't like to sit on the fence in this channel, so I've got to go one way or the other. What I would say is, with the betting odds as they are, Golovkin the favourite 4-7. Saul Canelo Alvarez is the outsider at 6-4. And a draw at 22-1. Taking into account the prices, I would say Saul Canelo Alvarez is the value there. And I think there is some value there. I think it's a very close fight. We've had a very close fight first time out. There's a lot of motivation for Canelo to put on a show this time. He's been training hard. You know, I think as he has claims, and 6-4, it looks like a big number. If I was looking at value betting, I'd look at Canelo. If I was to bet on just simply I think will win, and that's the price that Golovkin has. It's a price which you just take on the back of the fact you think he's going to win. It's not a question of value or it being a juicy price. The way the odds are set up, I think, you know, they're slanted towards Canelo. I mean, I would have it. I just think it could go either way. You know, you might have a favourite at 4-5 and an outsider at 5-4. But they've, you know, the bookies have got it in a different situation where Golovkin is shorter than that as a favourite and Alvarez is out at 6-4. It's very difficult for me. I'm trying to go one way or the other. Before I made the video, I thought I'd go with Golovkin. He's got that power. He's got that KO ability. I went for him in the first fight. That was my prediction in the first fight. Golovkin coming forward, that big KO percentage, landed on Canelo repeatedly. But you just never know with Canelo. He's got that great chin, very strong neck, big punches, big puncher, great technique. It really is. For me, it's near enough a 50-50 fight, and the odds don't suggest that it's a 50-50 fight. I'm going to go with Golovkin on this one. I think Golovkin is still young enough that he's got enough in the tank to get this done. He is the older man. Some people have said that he might be getting to a stage in his career where he might be showing signs of those age, but he's just a very tough man. He never backs off. He always keeps going forward. I can never see Golovkin giving up. Just the mentality he has, coming from the background that he has, I don't see him giving up. And I just think he's going to put in enough of a shift, put in enough effort, and connect enough times to inflict enough damage on Canelo and earn enough points to win this fight. He's now 36 years old, so we've got a 36-year-old against a 28-year-old. I think Golovkin's still young enough to be considered peak. You know, he's still, 36. If you ask me this in a year or two, I might say that he's, past his best. But I think he's still young enough. He's still hungry enough. And I think he'll be able to do enough. But as I say that, this is one where it's almost one of those where you just say watch the fight and enjoy it. Because in terms of saying it's a betting opportunity, the betting opportunity would be Canelo. Because he has that little bit of value as far as I'm concerned. The odds are giving him less of a chance than he actually has, in my view, in what is near enough a 50-50 fight. So, but I'm going to stick with Golovkin. You also think about the politics of boxing. You think, the money coming from Golden Boy Promotions and Canelo being the big star that he is in Mexico, being the big star he is in the States. He's the cash cow of the boxing business. So you wonder if judges are going to be, pushed in the direction of Canelo. I think if they were to lean one way, it would be in Canelo's direction because of the clout he has and because of the star power he has and because of the boxing political base he has behind him in Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions. But I'm going to stick with my prediction. I'm going to go with Golovkin. I'm going to say that it's definitely one to enjoy the fight and it's not one to go mad on. If you were going to have a value play, go Canelo. But I'm just going to go straight with a win bet. Gennady Golovkin 4-7. Enjoy the fight, give your opinion. It's definitely one for an opinion because it's a 50-50 fight. It can go either way. Like and subscribe if you haven't already and enjoy the fight.